Now try to understand that how and what is the value of the structure in language. We have understood that what is a structure. Now Sashur is saying that language operates in the similar manner. Language system is actually a structure, okay, based upon a logic. What does this mean? If I ask you, if you talk about the English language, then there are 26 alphabets, isn't it? Now, if I ask you that what is the definition of A? Just tell me that what is the definition of A? How can you understand that this is A? A, you will say, first thing, you will say that A is one of the alphabet in English language. But this is not the correct definition of A. B is also one of the alphabet of the English language. Then how will you specifically identify that this is A? Try to understand this very carefully. A can be recognized and identified because A is a letter which precedes B. The letter which comes before B is A. This is a somewhat perfect definition of A. Now, if I ask you, what is E? Then what will you say? E is the fifth letter of the English language. Or you can say E is the letter which comes after D, or E is the letter which comes after F. Isn't it? You will say this thing? Okay. Now, have you noticed that whenever we try to identify or define something, what are we doing? We cannot define it without the help of the other parts and the components of that structure. Okay, that means if the English alphabet system from A to Z, it is a whole, it is a structure, then A to Z, these 26 alphabets, they are the components or the parts of that structure. And very interestingly, if you are supposed to define any one part of the structure, you cannot define it without your reference to the other part of the structure. You cannot define A without referring to B. You cannot define E without its reference to the other alphabet. That means it is called the negative relation. Why I am calling, and I write it down, okay? Negative relation, not a positive relation. Why? We are calling it negative because we are defining one thing in terms or as an oppositional relation to the other. A is A because it is not B. It comes before B. Try to understand. E is E because E is not D and E is not F. E is something which comes before F and comes after D. Therefore, this is called oppositional relation. Right? The term oppositional relation or negative relation, where one thing is defined in its negative terms with the other. This is very important. Okay, because remember in my last class I told you that why are we calling this pen as a pen and not as a cat, not as a copy? Okay, because we have been taught, culture has and society taught us to call this as a pen. Now, why are we calling this as a pen? There is completely no specific reason for it. Okay. Similarly, in various other ways, language is designed in the same structure. For example, what is a building? What is a mansion? Okay, mansion, you understand? A huge building where kings used to live. What is a mansion? A mansion is a huge building. Okay. Now, why are you saying that mansion is a huge building? Somewhere in your mind, you have the concept of a house or a hut. What is a house or a hut? Small structure, small building. That means you cannot define a mansion without referring to other structures like hut and house. Therefore, whenever we are trying to define something, we are always comparing it in its negative terms with the other parts, with the other components. Okay, now this is very important, and this is how language operates. Language has no positive relation. It is not positively related with reality, but it is negatively related with its other components. Okay, things will get clearer. First of all, let us understand that how language actually operates, how Saussure is putting it. Okay, now Saussure is talking about the concept called sign. Each and every word, okay, because how do you communicate with literature? Literature is presented in front of you in the form of language, and language is constituted of many words. What are these words? Saussure says these words are nothing but signs. Sign. Okay. Yes. Now, a sign. Can you see this? Okay. These are signs. The words are signs. Now, a sign has two components. Okay. One is the signifier and another is the signified. Okay. To see. One sign has two components. One is the signifier and another is the signified. For example, let's take a cat. Okay. Now, C-A-T, cat, is actually a sign. It is a sign, and the sound that is produced when you are saying cat, then phonetically a sound is produced. This sound is the signifier. Okay, signifier means that component with the help of which we are signifying something. We are referring to something, pointing to something. This is called signifier. The sound that is produced and the visual here as C-A-T, cat, and the sound along with this is called the signifier. What is signified? Signified is the mental image that comes to your mind when I'm saying cat. When the moment I'm saying cat, what is the picture that is coming to your mind? A creature, a four-legged creature with a tail. Okay, this is what you can identify as the cat. Okay, so a sign is constituted of a signifier and a signified. That is, signifier, try to understand this very carefully. Signifier is the phonetic sound and the visual of the letters, the organization of the letters, and signified is the mental image that comes to your mind when I'm pronouncing this word cat. Okay, this is what Saussure is saying. Now, Saussure, what is Saussure saying? And based upon what we have discussed earlier, Saussure is saying that in linguistics, in language, there is no direct connection between signifier and the signified. Okay, then this is what I emphasized in my last class. Why C-A-T, cat, when I pronounce C-A-T, cat, or why when I pronounce P-E-N, pen, why it is that the image of the cat or the pen comes to your mind, there is no direct relation to it. Why is cat called a cat? There is no logical explanation for it. The only logic or the explanation is the cultural training. The cultural conditioning has made us, has taught us in such a manner that we have learned to call this as a cat and this as a pen. Okay. Now, why is this structure produced? So that we can identify things for our convenience. Okay. Now, why? Now, this may sound really weird that, there is no explanation that why are we calling cat as a cat. But let me tell you, if there would have been any strong connection between the word cat and the actual animal cat, then why it is that in the other language, that same animal or the same object is signified by a different signifier? Okay, in Bangla, we call cat as a cat. No, we call it biral. For example, tree. Okay, T-R-E-E. What is this T-R-E-E? A sign. Okay, it is a sign. And this is a signifier. Tree specially, and the phonetic sound tree, it is a signifier. Whenever someone says tree, what comes to your mind? Okay, a structure with a trunk and some leaves. This is called tree. Okay, but there is no inherent strong connection between the word tree and the image tree, the signified. Okay, because that same object tree is called as gach in Bangla. Okay, so in French, in German, it is called something else. This simply shows, and it proves, hence proved, Ferdinand Saussure proves that there is no positive relation between words and reality. What are we doing with the help of words? What we are trying to do? We are trying to reach the reality, which is out in this world. But he says that we are reaching the reality, we are signifying the reality, but there is no positive relationship. Okay, there is no natural explanation that why words are, why cat is called cat or tree is called tree. There is only a negative relationship, which means that a cat is called a cat because we cannot call a cat as dog. A dog is called dog because we cannot call a dog as lion. Everything has been given a particular nomenclature, particular name, so that we can identify it. But this relationship is very arbitrary. There is no positive relation. There is only a negative relation. That is similar to that structure. A is called A. A is A because A is not B. Okay, how will you define A? Something that comes before B, or the first letter. So whenever in language, whenever you're trying to define something, it is only in terms of its reference to the other components. Okay, this is the Saussurean linguistics. Okay, this is structuralism, and this is how a structure operates. Okay, clear up to here? For example, I may give you one more example. For example, red. Okay, and pink. Okay, red and green, for example. When I say red, the mental image of the color comes to your mind. When I say green, the mental image comes to your mind. But, whenever I say pink, you are able to differentiate between the two colors, red and pink. Okay, what happens? Why you cannot call pink as red? They are similar, no? Pink and red, they are very much similar. Red and green are very different, but red and pink are similar. But the moment I say red and pink, you again stratify, you again categorize. This is red and this is pink. Why are you calling pink as pink? Because you know that pink is something which is not red. So, how language operates? Language operates in this negative relation, in this negative way, where we give a certain amount of space to assign to a word. Okay, that space which is reserved for it and which we cannot give to anything else, to any other word. This is how language operates. It's a little bit confusing, but just follow the lecture, you will understand what I'm saying. Okay, so this is actually what Saussurean linguistic talk about.